I remember exactly where I was, sitting at my desk, running through a bunch of papers, but then deciding to jump in my car because I was heading to Connecticut. And I remember passing this way station, hotel seated directly behind that. And I looked over at the hotel and I saw in the rest station a bunch of cars and a lot of people seeming to be going on some kind of an excursion or a vacation. There were boats tied to some vehicles, and there were suitcases in some of these cars. A friend of mine was sitting right next to me, and we were heading to Connecticut. Another weekend in Connecticut of working, of hustling. And I remember saying to myself that success does not have to feel this way. I had accomplished a lot of things in my life, and I felt I had lived an extraordinary life at the age that I was. I'd traveled the world, literally. And at this juncture, I was at a standstill, a pause. I was stuck. And the answer to being stuck for me was to work a little bit harder. It was about optimizing another process. What else? What other strategy could I use? How could I exhaust the current strategy that I had? How could I take it to another level? If I stayed up 2 more hours in the night and get to the wee hours of the morning, would that make a difference? But what I realized is that it was not making a difference. There was a major conflict of who I was being and what I wanted to accomplish. This is what we call a neuro ceiling for individuals, especially high achievers. What brought you here cannot take you any further. And you're going to notice that as you grind every single year, year after year. But I'm not here to talk to you about your grind or the hustle. I'm talking to you this morning about you, the individual, about you, the individual. See, when I got stuck in my life, I felt that the answer was a to-do list. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do more of that. But what I realized for sure that there's no doing without you being, without you being. So instead of taking on the hustle, one more set of hustle, another redesign hustle, another hustle that looked a little different, looked more elegant, a elegant hustle. I knew that I was about to navigate a new mountain with an old tattered map. What had brought me here was not going to take me any further. I was just going to get more of the same. I identified myself as an elegant hustler. And a hustler does not know how to build a legacy. So I had to pause and say, where does my life go from here? What does it look like a couple years from here? And will I be able to work in the same manner to continuously? And the answer to that was absolutely no way. However, I needed all the results that I had gotten and then some. So I was not about to let go of what I had created. I was about to build on it to create a legacy. However, the person that built the first leg of my accomplishments could not take me to the next leg. And I was unaware of that. And being unaware of it means that you're going to dig a little deeper. You're going to hustle some more. You're going to put in more work, but you're going to realize that the hustle cannot outsmart the identity that you have. The hustle will not outsmart the identity. And that's when I came to the true realization that, hey, pause for a moment. And I want to share with you some of the questions I had to ask myself. I had to stop, pause in quiet, and ask myself these questions. Who is the woman that already has what I am seeking for? Who is the woman who has multiple successful businesses? That was one of my questions. Who is the woman who is an acclaimed author, who has the ability to leave a legacy for her children and her children's children? Who is the woman that's a devoted wife? Who is the woman that is a loving and caring mother? Who is the woman that lives peacefully? Who is the woman that's financially established? And who is the woman that has a fulfilling life? When I asked myself those questions, what came to mind is the individual that I was in that moment was not that woman. It was far from that woman. And I had to, in that moment, realize that there was a conflict between who I was and who I wanted to become. We call it a neural ceiling. There was a ceiling that no matter what I do, I'll be bumping my head on the wall over and over and over again because the person had not changed, but the ambition or what I needed to do next was very different. What I wanted, the more of, the better, the expansion, the growth was there, but the individual remained the same person who had done what she had done to get where she was, and it wasn't going to take her any further. So I had to bridge that gap. So I want you to, in this moment, type in the comment, limitless, limitless. In order for you to break through that neural ceiling that you have and create something absolutely magnanimous, to be able to live limitless, knowing that anything is possible, you will need to change the identity that you hold that has held you here, that has kept you stuck, and that keeps repeating itself year after year in certain patterns. I realized for sure that in order for you, my friends, the 360-degree nation, turning everything around, in order for you to turn everything around and have all that you want, all the things that you love and you crave for, you can still have it, but you can have it with less friction, less stress, and more of yourself to the table. In other words, you can radiate success instead of chasing success. There's a big difference. How do you do that? You become the individual that success is attracted to, that success moves towards. So instead of looking at your to-do list, you want to look at what is your who I am list. We've always been taught to make the 6 most important things list. This was truly a spectacular feat when it was established by Ivy League and given to Charles Schwab, and it changed the complexion of his organization. However, we have realized that that 6 most important things list becomes just a list of a to-do list if the individual is not prepared to use that list. So who do you need to become in order to be able to get what you want from your life? There is a major difference between your identity and your ambition disconnect. If the person if that identity, if the self-image you have does not change, you will be stuck in the same results year after year after year. That self image comes with patterns, and the patterns will repeat themselves. I repeat, the patterns will repeat themselves every single day. You want to check that? Go back and take a look at what yesterday looked like and what you were doing, and the day before, and the day before, the day before. You will see the same pattern showing up over and over again. They are wired in your self image. In order to change the pattern, you got to change you. You got to change you. So you've been playing this character for quite some time. And let me say this, sometimes we're playing a character for last season when it's a new season. We're playing a character for several seasons ago. It's a new season. And in that new season, a new character is required. And that new character will give you the new results that you're looking for. Or you will get the same results from the past seasons. And sometimes you will get results way beyond the past seasons. My call to you today, 360-degree nation, is to change your identity so that your results can change. So here's what I did. After I asked a bunch of questions to myself, who is this person? What do I want to look like in the future? What are some of the things I want to see happen in my life? Where do I want to find peace? And I established the fact that all that I had created was relevant and I wanted that and then some. I started working on only one thing, myself. Who am I? And how do I operate as the individual that I am destined to be, that I have scripted myself to be? So this morning, I want to ask you to take a note of this, and we're going to ask you to do some exercises. We're not here for a pep talk. We're not here for positive thinking. We're here to implement in our lives things that can change. This next 5 days, we'll delve deep into there are no limits. The only limits that there are is the ones that you place on yourself. The only limits there are is the one that you confine yourself to. And many of us are living in our own prisons that we have created for ourselves based on the things we have confined ourselves to. The call this morning is for you to break free of the boundaries that hold you hostage, being the same person, delivering the same results year after year after year. Here's what I'd love for you to do. Each day, we're going to give you a particular assignment, which is a very simple assignment that will break down barriers that are around your greater good, that are around your explosive growth, that are around the vehicle that you want to drive, how you want to be transported. Break down the barriers around the relationships that you want to have that are harmonious. We want to break down some barriers and have no limits to the level of success that you can carry. We want to break down the barriers around your health and your happiness. We want to break down the barriers around your future. What is it going to look like the day when you decide that, hey, I need to be able to be sitting on a beach drinking a pina colada rather than hustling? We want to break down those barriers and free you to live the life and create the kind of success, the kind of income, the kind of relationship, the kind of happiness, the kind of peace that you deserve. It doesn't have to be struggle. We are wired to struggle. And you know what? Your neurosystem love that. Why? Because it's familiar. And we don't mind familiar struggle. We prefer familiar struggle than something that we don't know. And the don't know is the cave that you're afraid to enter that holds the treasures that you seek. It is changing who you are to being a very different individual. This change is necessary. It was necessary when you were a child for you to evolve from creeping and crawling to start running, walking and running. It was necessary when you were in high school for you to not crawl. It was necessary when you moved to college or to into a work environment that you didn't take a nipple bottle or a dribbler with you. It was necessary. Now it is necessary for you to move from where you are to a new image, a new personality, a new person to create the new good that you desire. And someone has to tell you that here is it. You are hitting a neuro ceiling every time you repeat the same performance or you start qualifying for the same things over and over again instead of expanding and creating something greater for your life. Here is what happened when I did that. A couple of days within a couple of weeks within the change that I made, a Olive Publishing called me to be able to write a portion of a book where there are over 30 other authors around the world were. I changed my identity and everything I needed start lining up. After that, I remember being in a hotel over by Philadelphia, the Renaissance Hotel, when I was closing on a condo away from where I was in a very, very, very established area in the neighborhood, which so many people wanted to. I remember when I came here, I said, gosh, I want to own something in that building. My identity had changed from the hustler to a person who wanted to leave a legacy, to be able to lead a legacy and fulfill the lives of others. I was willing to be uncomfortable with how people perceive me while I was going through the transition, to be able to help others to transition as well. I had changed the individual I was. It didn't matter what people thought about me. It mattered what my life was going to look like a couple of years down the road. And this morning, it is your calling to do that. My finances change. My relationships change. My circle change. My children change. Everything around me changed for the better when I changed the person I was being. This morning, my friends, I want to ask you to do us a favor. In the chat, we want you to take on this 24-hour assignment. This is your commitment to yourself that, in fact, you are limitless. To those of you, to the amazing Catherine Mara, you typed in the chat that you're limitless. Yes, you are. And the limitlessness starts with you changing who you are as an individual. Angela Moore, shout out to you. Of course you're ready. You're ever and always ready. Of right, you are always ready. I want to say this to Valerie Rich. Yes, in fact, you are limitless. You are limitless. You can create anything you want. So here's the audit that you need to take to see who is the identity that you're living in. What identity are you living in? Are you living as the person who out every fire? Are you living as the go-to person that everybody calls when they need you to run an errand? Are you the go-to person? And is that the identity that will lead you to the ultimate results that you want in your life? What is the one goal? It's a question I have for you. What is the one goal you keep hitting on a wall, and no matter how much effort you put in, it remains the same? I want you to identify that one goal that you're working on over and over. And every time it just seems like you're hitting your head against the wall and you're not having a breakthrough. Please identify that. Number two, let's take it to the next. That's your ceiling. That's the identity ceiling that you're at. Who am I? And I'm hitting my head against this wall over and over and over again. Ask yourself, who do I need to be? And more often than not, you're going to answer that question with what you're currently doing more of, doing more of what you're currently doing. That is a trick. It is the trick to keeping you exactly where you are. It's your neural ceiling speaking loudly at you to do more of the same so it can contain you in a prison of your own making. So, where do you go from here? What is the one goal that you keep hitting? You keep missing every time, hitting your head against the wall. Identify that. Two, who do you know you need to become in order to be able to navigate that problem. How do you need to solve it? And it's not with more of the same. In other words, I don't want you to sit and make a list of things that you need to do. I want you to seriously, meditatively, in a quiet space, find out who you need to be in order to have what you desire. It's about your identity. When you fall into that identity, when you craft that identity, you stop chasing and you start being. You start being. Number three, what is that character? What is the character that has held you hitting your head? And when you answer the question that, oh, I need to do more of, more of, more of, more of, what is it costing you your bigger legacy? What is remaining the same costing your bigger legacy? What is remaining the same costing your bigger legacy? Tomorrow, we're going to teach you how to reset your nervous system. Why? When you set a bigger goal, when you decide that you want to become a very different person in order to get to your goals, your nervous system is going to go haywire. It's going to be like you're up against an army, and you are, because you're going to be up against all the familiarity of your existence, all the things that have made you comfortable. But this is not the time to make friends with it. It's not the time. Why? Because truly, you're going to realize that you're going to find yourself more uncomfortable, more stressed with not attaining what it is that you're called here to do. I'll repeat the assignment, and you'll also see it in a section of your Facebook group called Guides. You will have this video in there, and you'll have the 24-hour questions that you need to answer for yourself in preparation for tomorrow morning at 7. What is the one goal you keep hitting your head against the wall to attain and you have not yet attained it? Ask yourself, who do I need to become in order to solve this problem? When you come up with those ideas, what is that character costing your bigger legacy? What is the character you are at right now costing your bigger legacy? I want to thank you for being here with us this morning on the first leg of a 5-day challenge around there are no limits. There are absolutely no limits. Thank you for joining us.